Welcome to this topic on multimedia data mining and text mining. Here we will see about the next advanced topics such as the multimedia and mining, text mining. Coming to the first topic, that is multimedia data mining. A multimedia database system stores and manages a large collection of multimedia data such as audio, video, image, graphics, speech, text, document, and hypertext data that contain text markups and linkages. See, basically, as it was told previously, the multimedia database is comprised of various audio video files along with various images, graphics, etc. Right? Now, how do you mine such a database? You need some sophisticated mining methods for that. That is what we will be studying here. Here he has given an example of NASA's Earth observation system, which is able to hold various kinds of images and or it produces or generates various kinds of image and audio video databases. Now suppose you are asked to mine this Earth observation system. Naturally you need very sophisticated mining methods. So here we study these such certain data mining methods that are applied to this multimedia, that is called as similarity search. Then we go for multi-dimensional analysis, then classification and prediction analysis, along with the mining of the association rules in the multimedia data. Coming to the first topic in this multimedia data mining, it is called similarity search in multimedia data. So how do you search for similar images, or how do you group similar images? Basically there are two techniques. One is description based retrieval system, another is content based retrieval system. So description based retrieval means here what you will do is the index or unique numbers will be generated for the images, okay, such as keywords, captions, size, etc. Whereas in content based, the images are retrieved based on the content of the image, like its histogram, texture, pattern, image topology. So basically what we are doing is, in both the cases we are trying to search for similar images that will help us to mine the multimedia data. So coming to the first one, description based retrieval, it is a labor intensive process if it is performed manually. So however, if automated, the results are typically of poor quality. For example, the assignment of keywords to images can be a tricky and arbitrary task. That's what, if we want to assign keywords or unique numbers to images, it will be a little ambiguous task, and it will lead to quite the results of the mining process may be of poor quality. But however, recent development of web-based clustering, image clustering and classification methods have improved the quality of description-based web image retrieval, because image surrounding the text information, such as the web linkage information, can be used to extract proper description, okay, and group the images that are describing a similar theme. So please understand, we are trying to extract similar images. For that, these are the two approaches: description based and content based. Coming to the second one, content based image retrieval. Here you have two kinds of queries. One is image sample based and another one is image feature specification. Image sample based queries finds all the images that are similar to the given image sample. So what do you mean by this? For example, this search compares the feature vector or signature extracted from the sample with the feature vectors of images that have already been extracted and indexed in the image database. So all of you know about training data and test data. So here also they are using the training data and test data. Only difference is the training data consists of the feature vectors of images, right? The feature vectors, in the sense the feature attributes of the images that have been already extracted, so that have been already trained, and the new search will compare the feature vector that has been of the test data with the feature vectors already stored in the database. Based on this, you will classify or cluster that new image. The logic, that's what the logic here is. Another logic is image feature specification. These type of queries specify or sketch image features like color, text or shape, which are translated into a feature vector to be matched with the feature vectors of the images in the database. So here basically the feature vector or the signature is extracted, whereas here the feature specification of the image, like its color, texture or shape, is extracted, and it is compared with the already stored feature vectors of the images, and the new image will be classified based on based on these feature specifications. So don't lose the fact that what we are basically doing in this similarity search is we are trying to group or classify the new image that is given based on the training images. That's all. So content-based retrieval has the wide applications such as medical diagnosis, weather prediction, TV production, web search engines for images, and e-commerce. So easily you can understand for medical diagnosis where it can be used. For example, if you have a new image of a patient, suppose you want to predict whether he has intestinal cancer. So now the mining method will have it is the new patient's image, intestinal cancer image will be the test data, and the training data will be already scanned images of various other patients who have the intestinal cancer. So if that new image is found to be very similar to the already images stored in the database, then that new image can be classified as having an intestinal cancer, something like that. Okay, similarly, this can be applied easily for web search engines, right? For images, if you give an image, how the Google will search. So it will try to search the already stored images in its database, and then the closest matching image will be produced. So it is nothing but we are trying to group the images based on their similarity. So once the similarity search is over, the next topic in multimedia data is multi-dimensional analysis of multimedia data. See, basically in all the topics in this 5th unit, you are going to study spatial data mining, then text mining, and this one is now multimedia data mining. This one is common, multi-dimensional analysis. So before this, you have to know what is a data warehouse. So I had repeated before also, data warehouse is nothing but a particular process of collecting data from heterogeneous sources. So it can be considered as a large repository of data which is made up of heterogeneous data. Now what is this data cube? So data cube is a way of or different views. Same data can be viewed in different views, correct? Suppose you have a employee data. Now that same employee data can be viewed in terms of his salary, or that same employee data can be viewed with respect to age, employee's age. So like that, different views constitute the different data cubes. Okay, so that's what we should understand, those basic definitions. Now let us come to this. A multimedia data cube can contain additional dimensions and measures for multimedia information such as color, texture, and shape. So when you want to look at a multimedia image or a video, you have to consider which are the in multimedia information that have to be considered for mining it. Color, texture, and shape are the three most common things that occur in both videos and audios. So multimedia miner handles multimedia data. So that's what multimedia miner, in the sense the data mining algorithm applied to the multimedia data. Each image contains two descriptors, a feature descriptor and a layout descriptor. Original image is not stored in the database, but only its descriptors like image file name, URL, image type, and a list of known web pages referring to the image, that is parent URLs, a list of keywords, and a thumbnail. Okay. Now the thing is, why the original image is not stored in the database before it is mined, correct? When the mining algorithm has to happen, naturally the mining algorithm has to be applied for the multimedia data. What he is telling is, even though the multimedia data contains images, the original image will not be stored to save space. Its descriptors will be stored, what are the descriptors that describe the image? Its name, its URL, its type, correct? All these things will be stored. Based on that, the mining will be done. Then the feature descriptor is a set of vectors for each visual characteristic. The construction of a multimedia data cube will facilitate multidimensional analysis of multimedia data, primarily based on visual content. So that's what, if you want to view the multimedia data from different angles, from different views, so naturally multimedia data cube has to be constructed from different angles that will help us to analyze the multimedia data in respect to different dimensions. And the mining of multiple kinds of knowledge can be done, such as summarizing the image, comparing images, classifying the images, associating the images, clustering the images. All these things are possible only if we are able to store the images in data cubes. Okay, these are actually high dimensional matrices which provide different view of the same data. So coming to the third topic in the multimedia data mining, it is classification, prediction, analysis. So for this, I think you can easily go to the unit 2 of the data mining, what we had studied. Classification is the process of assigning class labels, right? Some trained data will be there. The mining algorithm will be trained on the training data, and when test data is given, the new data will be classified. Same concept will be applied here. Only that entire process will repeat for multimedia data. So it is used for mining multimedia data, especially in scientific research like astronomy, seismology, study of oceans, and geoscientific research. So important thing to remember is whatever traditional classification algorithms you have studied, such as decision trees, naive Bayes, support vector machines, they can all be applied for multimedia data for classifying the image and audio, video files. These algorithms can be easily applied. But small changes you have to make because images will be read or videos will be read. So when you are writing the algorithm for such audio video data, small changes definitely need to be made. But the whole concept of the algorithm remains the same. So he has given an example here. How are you going to perform classification prediction for astronomy data? So suppose you are given a set of sky images. Okay, they will be the training data, and they will be classified into each image will be classified into either galaxies, stars, based on the property of the images like or its orientation, its magnitude, its intensity, etc. Okay, now the training set is the sky images. Now the test data will be telescopic images for classifying new celestial data. So new images come which has been captured by the telescope. That image has to be classified. So since the algorithms will be trained on these sky images, which are the training data, it is possible to classify the new image. Okay, that's the whole logic here. They're classifying the new image into a new galaxy, or it may be a star, like that, based on the already available data. So similar studies have been done to identify volcanoes on Venus planet. And again, data pre-processing like the data cleaning, data transformation, feature extraction are essential for mining image data. So whatever you have studied, like you have to clean the data before the mining algorithm is applies to multimedia data. Now coming to the last topic in this multimedia data mining, that is called mining association rules. So again, going back to the third unit, association means what? Association means you are trying to relate two objects. A person who purchased bread also purchased milk. So trying to associate or link or relate two objects, right? Same thing can be applied for multimedia data. Association rules involving multimedia objects can be mined in image and video databases. There are three categories here: associations between image and non-image contents. So what you are doing is, suppose you are given an image as well as a non-image. How are you going to associate them? Here is given an example. A rule like association rule, it is like if at least 50% of the upper part of picture is blue, then it is likely to represent sky. This is what he is saying here. So what here this rule is trying to associate an image with a non-image. Okay, second one is associations among image contents that are not related to spatial relationships. So here you are trying to associate two images itself. A rule like if a picture contains two blue squares, then it is likely to contain one red circle as well. Okay, because you are only associating image contents. Third one is association among image contents related to spatial relationships. Here you are going to associate or link or relate the contents of the image with spatial data. Spatial data means it can be related to geography or time. So a rule like if a red triangle is between two yellow squares, then it is likely a big oval shaped object is underneath. So here actually the object, the oval shaped object may be a spatial data, and the red triangle and two yellow squares might be an image. So you are associating an image with a spatial data. So these are the three types of association rules that can occur in multimedia data. Coming to the last topic of multimedia data mining, that is called as audio and video data mining. See, basically what happens is this can be asked as a short notes or a direct explanation. Many times it has been asked. Audio data mining is name itself indicates. Here we are trying to mine audio files, okay, like MP3, MP4. Video mining the video files, right? That is called as video data mining. You are trying to extract some knowledge from the audio or video. So one of the primary examples of audio data mining is speech recognition. I think most of you might be aware of this. Speech recognition means here we are trying to convert a text to speech. So naturally you are doing audio mining. You are completely generating audio from the speech. Okay, many things come here actually, like you will not only applying data mining, you will be applying something called as natural language processing, NLP also here. Those things can be easily understood when you do if you are planning to do the final year project, where NLP data mining can be combined. And data mining is such a topic that it is usually combined with image processing, NLP, natural language processing. Okay, even it can be combined with Internet of Things, IoT. So it's not an independent topic as such. And examples of video data mining include detecting suspicious persons or scenes in surveillance videos. So this is what we see, in CCTV and all. 24-hour observing by humans is quite difficult because the humans tend to get tired. So if you have a data mining software that is able to detect suspicious persons, then it can be very beneficial in detecting crimes and all. Then discovering patterns and outliers in weather radar recordings. Again, weather radar recordings will be it will be very huge. Many minute by minute, second by second recordings will be coming to the weather station. So again, human analysis of that is quite difficult. So if you have a mining algorithm which is able to detect an outlier, then maybe certain high rainfall or high risk weather conditions may be identified. So to facilitate or to encourage the analysis of audio and video information, MPEG, I think you have heard of this, Moving Pictures Experts Group, has developed certain standards such as a set of descriptors, a set of descriptor schemes. Okay, what is this set of descriptors? They are like, for example, syntax of a feature like color, shape, texture, which will describe the image. Then there are descriptor schemes also that specify the structure and semantics of the relationship between the components. So the descriptors are the features which describe the image. Descriptor schemes are the schemes or the rules that actually try to find the relationship between the descriptors. Fine. Then so coding schemes are there. How we want to code the image. Different coding schemes are there. Then a description definition language to specify or define the schemes and descriptors. The one thing that still has been research needs to be done is video data mining. It is still in its infancy. It means a lot of research has to be done in this. Similarity based pre-processing, compression, indexing and retrieval, information extraction, redundancy removal, frequent pattern discovery, classification, clustering and trend and outlier detection are important data mining tasks in this domain, that is in the domain of multimedia. These are some of the important data mining tasks. Redundancy removal means you're removing duplicate images or duplicate audios, videos. Frequent pattern means you're trying to discover frequent images or videos, right? Classification, classifying the audio video files, clustering the audio video files. So these are some of the major data mining tasks in multimedia data. So coming to the next important topic, it is called as text mining. So again, this can be asked as direct questions where they ask explain text mining in the 5th unit. And since the fifth unit is a completely theoretical unit, you need to know the important points here. So I have just highlighted that. So before that, what is this text mining? The name itself indicates mining the text, that is extracting useful knowledge from the text. So whether we believe it or not, or whether we we need it or not, most of the information that is available today is in the form of text, correct? Whether you see online articles, whether you see WhatsApp, whether you see research papers, books, digital libraries, emails, correct? All this information is in the form of text. So there these text databases are rapidly growing because it is being made in available in electronic form. Okay, even the those that were present handwritten, they are being scanned and uploaded into the net. So this can be, I mean, distributed through mail and world wide web. So naturally, if you want to mine such a data, you need some sophisticated algorithms. That's what we'll be studying here. So even the information related to government, industry, business and institutions are stored electronically in the form of text databases. Yeah, this is an important point. Data stored in most text databases are semi-structured. That means what? So neither you have a complete structure, neither it is a full RDBMS, nor it is a completely unstructured data. Here is given an example. For example, a document may contain a few structured fields such as title, authors, publication, date, category. But it may also contain some largely unstructured text like abstract and contents. So when you are writing a report, for example, or when you are writing a research paper for your project, what project you have done, final year project. So you can see it will have title, authors will be there, its publication date will be there, etc. These will be structured. This will be common for all the papers, or it will have the same format. It will be in a RDBMS format. But when you come for the actual paper contents, introduction will be there, related work will be there, abstract will be there. So they will form the unstructured data. So it's very difficult to mine this text data because it is neither completely structured nor it is completely unstructured. That's why it is called as semi-structured data. So one of the first topic is text data analysis and information retrieval. So I think this information retrieval, all of you are aware, it is concerned with the organization and retrieval of information from a large number of text-based documents. So here we are just trying to retrieve information. There is no mining here. From the large text-based documents, the information is retrieved. Actually, if you see your Google search engine or any search engine for that matter can be considered as a information retrieval, because whatever you type in the text box or the search engine, the particular information, relevant information will be retrieved, right? That is called as pulling the relevant information, okay, to locate relevant documents, correct? What is pushing? Pull and push. Pushing newly arrived information. There are two things here, okay? Pulling the relevant information is like your Google search engine, where you're trying to pull the needed information. Pushing is a newly arrived information, means here you're trying to recommend to the user, or you're trying to push some new information to the user which he has not already seen. Such type of things are called as recommender systems. I think most of you have seen throughout your daily life, whenever you buy something from Amazon, the similar products will be recommended. So they are nothing but recommender systems. They will push a new information onto you, which in this case you are a consumer. So it is called as a recommender system. There exist many information retrieval systems such as the online library catalog, online document manager systems, and web search engines. So actual mining is not happening. You are just trying to retrieve the information stored in a text. That's what it is trying to tell here. So coming to the basic measures for text retrieval, there are two basic measures for text retrieval: precision and recall. These are the two measures that are used to evaluate the accuracy of a search query. So whenever you use a search engine like Google, how do you know that the particular documents that are retrieved by the search engine is accurate? How are you going to evaluate the accuracy of the query that you have given? For that, these two measures, precision and recall, are used. Before that, some notations you need to know. This indicates the number of documents, or the set relevant indicates the set of documents relevant to the query. Retrieved indicates the set of documents retrieved by the query. So the number of relevant documents, and this retrieved indicates the number of retrieved documents. So I think you can easily understand. Suppose if you type anything in a particular search engine like data mining, and it returns millions of results. Out of that, if only 10 results are relevant to you, or relevant to the query you have typed, then naturally the efficiency of the search engine is less. So that's what is measured by these two measures. What is the accurate retrieval capacity of the search engine? Precision is the percentage of retrieved documents that are in fact relevant to the query. That is the number of correct responses. It is formally defined as precision is equal to number of relevant queries intersection. Okay, intersection means and number of relevant and retrieved queries divided by the number of retrieved queries. This indicates precision. Similarly, recall indicates percentage of documents that are relevant to the query and were in fact retrieved. Okay, it is defined like this. Recall is equal to number of relevant documents and retrieved documents divided by the number of relevant documents. So if we observe both of these formulas, precision and recall, the only difference is in the denominator. In the precision, the number of retrieved documents is in the denominator, and here the number of relevant documents is in the denominator. So this is precision actually measures the number of correct responses actually, and whereas recall it gives the percentage of documents. So whatever is written, how much relevant it is. Okay, that's what it tries to tell you. So basically, instead of using these two measures separately, there is one another measure called as F-score, which provides a trade-off between these two. Okay, which is defined as the harmonic mean of recall and precision. It discourages a system that sacrifices one measure for another. So if you see, F-score is using both recall and precision. It is a harmonic mean of these two. And usually in practically this F-score is found to be more valuable to evaluate the queries written by the search engine. So coming to the relationship, so this diagram you can easily understand. These are the number of relevant documents. These are the number of retrieved documents. So the shaded area indicates the intersection, which are both the documents which are both relevant and that are retrieved. So this is important. This should be more. The shaded area should be more. Then we say that the search engine has accuracy. The search engine has a good accuracy because the number of documents it has retrieved is more, and among them the number of relevant documents is also more. So these are the basic measures that are used to basically try to evaluate the search engine. What he says here, to measure the quality of a ranked list of documents, it is common to compute an average of precisions at all the ranks where a new relevant document is returned. So usually we do the average of the precisions to measure the quality of how the documents are ranked. Okay. And another way is you plot a graph of precisions at many different levels of recall. A higher curve represents a better quality information retrieval system. So instead of using the measures precision, recall and F-score separately, you can take their average or plot a graph of precision versus recall. Okay, and based on that you can evaluate the information retrieval system like a search engine. Coming to the second one, that is text retrieval methods. So I think all of you are using the Google search engine. Some of you might not know that the search engine uses Boolean operators. You can easily use Boolean operators to efficiently search. For example, if you type car and repair shops, then it will return the results where both of documents where both car and repair words are present. But suppose you use or like tea or coffee, then it returns the documents in which either tea is there or coffee is there. Okay, so the thing is when you are using Boolean operators, you can easily use them to search a particular topic, and that actually gives a more relevant result. Retrieval system that satisfies the user's query will retrieve the documents. Okay, now how do you rank the documents? So because see what happens is when the particular Google or any search engine retrieves the documents, it should rank the documents in order of relevance, right? Because usually whenever we search, we don't go more than the first page. We don't go more than the first page. Most of the information we see only in the first page. So naturally, very relevant information should be highlighted to you in the first page itself. Okay, so that's what it says in Google. Keywords in query are matched and documents are ranked by assigning score to each document. So whenever you type some keywords in the query, they are matched, and these keywords will be assigned to the document, and based on that a score will be calculated. Whichever has the highest score, that document will be shown to you first. Cosine measure is used for measuring similarity between documents. This you had studied in the first unit, I think. Similarity measures, as it is well known, this is given by this formula: v1 dot v2 by length of v1 into length of v2, where v1 and v2 are vectors, and v1 dot v2 represents the inner product of the vectors, and this length of v1 indicates root of v1 into v1 square. All of you had solved problems on cosine measure also. So it is basically used for measuring the similarity, how similar two or more documents are. Then there are some basically three approaches for mining the text. Okay, one is keyword based approach, another one is tagging approach, another is information extraction approach. All these three approaches we'll study in detail here. What is this keyword based association analysis? Here it collects a sets of keywords or terms that occur frequently together and then finds the association or correlation relationships among them. Association analysis first preprocesses the text data by parsing, stemming, removing stop words and so on, and then evokes association mining algorithms. So here, see here, this will be in the database will be in this format. Okay, document ID will be there and a set of keywords will be associated with that document. So that's what it says, where input is a set of keywords or terms in the document. So whenever you have a database like this, suppose you are given 1000 documents, then each document will be having certain keywords, right? So based on that, the one document will be associated or related to another document if the keywords match. That's the whole logic. Keywords has to be identified from the document, and two or three documents are associated with each other if they have the similar keywords. Keyword based association analysis. Set of frequently occurring consecutive or closely located keywords may form a term or phrase. The association mining can detect compound associations like domain dependent terms or phrases such as Stanford University or US President. Correct. Here, see for example, Stanford, University is there, and you want to associate this Stanford with the, because we know that Stanford is a university, it has associated this Stanford with the university automatically. Similarly, this US is a country and the president has been associated with George W. Bush. So such type of associations can be done by the association mining algorithms, or non-compound associations like dollars, shares, exchange. These also can be done by the keyword based association analysis. So mining based on these associations is referred to as term level association mining. So here actually you are trying to mine the only the terms, right? A word document might have thousands of terms. A document might have thousands of terms. You are mining each term with every other term. Okay, by the Stanford might belong to the first document. Here you are mining the associating the document Stanford term from first document with the university term from the second document. So that's why it is called term level association mining, as opposed to mining on individual words. Term recognition and term level association mining enjoy two advantages. Terms and phrases are automatically tagged, so there is no need for human effort in tagging documents. The number of meaningless results is greatly reduced, as is the execution time of the mining algorithms. So basically here, why this association is required here? This is basically used in search engines to reduce the number of redundant results, correct? Duplicate results will be written. Two or three documents are very much similar. They might be combined in a single search query. That's what he's telling here. Next is document classification analysis. Automated document classification done to organize several online documents into classes to facilitate document retrieval and subsequent analysis. So this is a simple thing where a lot of documents will be given, correct? And you are supposed to ask, the mining algorithm has to classify the documents based on pre-existing documents. It is used in topic tagging, like assigning labels to documents, topic directory construction, identification of the document writing styles, classifying the purposes of hyperlinks associated with the documents. Procedure for automated document classification is a set of pre-classified documents taken as training set. Training set is analyzed to derive classification scheme which is tested on test set of other online documents. So again, the whole method of classification remains the same. There is a training set which consists of documents which are already classified, right, which are already having class labels. Then when a new document comes, that document will be classified by the data mining algorithm based on the pre-classified documents, right? So different from relational structured data. So that what the main difference is, see, the documents are not RDMS in nature, right? They will be keywords will be there, attributes will be there, dimensions will be there. So that's the main thing. The data is different because it is semi-structured. For that, regular classification algorithms like decision trees may not work. So whereas k nearest neighbor, support vector machine, Bayesian classification can be used for classifying the documents. Then finally you have this document clustering analysis. How do you cluster the documents? So again, we have studied k-means algorithm, hierarchical clustering, DB-scan. Those are the clustering algorithms. So basically you are going to organize or cluster the documents in an unsupervised manner. If you remember, there are no class labels in clustering, right? That's why it is called unsupervised. In classification, already class labels are given, whereas in clustering, class labels are not given. That's why it is called unsupervised. Since document space have high dimensionality, documents are projected onto a lower dimensional subspace. Then traditional clustering algorithms are applied. So multiple high number of columns or number of features for a document, no, it will be very high because one document might have lakhs of words or lakhs or million or even thousands of paragraphs, right? So it will having multiple dimensions. So first it is reduced to a low dimension and then the traditional clustering algorithms will be applied. Spectral clustering performs spectral embedded dimensionality reduction on original data and then applies traditional clustering algorithms like k-means on the reduced document space. That's what it says here. This is spectral clustering where he has reduced the high dimensional data to low dimensional data and then applied traditional algorithms like k-means, hierarchical clustering, DB-scan. Then mixture model clustering models the text data with a mixture model involving multinomial component models. It involves two steps: estimating model parameters based on text data and any additional prior knowledge, or inferring clusters based on estimated model parameters. So basically this is a new concept that has come up. It is called as hybrid clustering. Here what we do is we combine two or three clustering methods together to provide a better efficient clustering. That comes to the end of this session. In this session we have seen two important topics, that is multimedia data mining and text mining. These are the two fields in which the data mining applications are being used widely. Thank you.